I'm not sure why.
Oakley dokley, folks. You should be joining us very, very shortly as my Zoom redirects us to YouTube. And I'll say a very, very good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you may be in God's green garden. It's great that you joined us. It's not so great that just recently we've had an announcement regarding trade wars. Well, it's good for some, bad for others. I'm one of those ones it's bad for because it spiked me out of my short on Aussie US dollar. I want to know what's going on. Ash, g'day, and how are you?
Hi, mate. Yes, I am good.
My Aussie trade's been smashed out of the market, please.
So what we have is a trade war. The announcement that the trade dispute is, I suppose, clearing a little bit, and the tariffs will be reduced over kind of short increments and short periods. So it sounds like there's some movement there on some of the tariffs, and it has driven the FTSE 100 as well higher. I am looking for a short in the FTSE, but not quite yet. I did get a gold trade, and we were talking about gold. And to be honest, mate, this was because of you. I wasn't really kind of, yes, I was, looking at gold as I always do. But you said yesterday that maybe we should play a bit more of an active role in trading gold.
Yeah, it's worth a look, isn't it?
Yeah, and I have to say, yesterday I was a little bit out of sync with the FTSE. I was kind of in sync but out of sync. We got the short in the market, but then something happened that kind of put me off the short. But it did end up coming down, and it would have created a decent trade long, and actually it's flown from that point, so it would have ended up being a really good trade long. But it was telling me that I'm just a little bit out of sync with the FTSE at this stage, and I'm just getting used to kind of recalibrating again and getting back into the swing of things being home. But because we were talking about,
I can't calibrate with the announcements that come out of nowhere. This trade wars thing has upset two of my trades, and can I call them pricks? I think I'll call them pricks.
I mean,
why don't they do that in the morning before I get into the market?
This is the problem, isn't it? You can't really account for some of these moves.
No, and these announcements that come out of nowhere, it's just totally unpredictable. So
yes, it is.
Up with which we must put, I'm afraid. That's why we don't trade at 5% risk, Ash.
Well, this is very true. Yeah, this is very true. It's reduced risk is the name of the game, and I have to say I've gone in very light on gold because I've never traded it before, and I was I might have traded it years ago, but I haven't traded it for so long. I couldn't really work out how much I was meant to put on, so I went in light, and then I thought, oh, that's not going to make me much, so I went in a bit more, and I went in a bit more, and eventually I started going, well, I don't know this chart very well, so let's not go too heavy. But now that the trade is kind of in positive direction, I'll show you what I've got.
Let's take a look, mate. Sure.
And really, this is because of the conversations that we were having. Gold was obviously looking like a selling opportunity. You can see here it's just dipped under the weekly pivot. My sell area is the green line. And it's just started to come through. I also kind of got this channel on the 1 hour chart. I heard somebody say this was a flag.
Flag about it, but it's
I guess so. Yes, you could say that. Certainly on the 4 hour, I think you could say it's a bear flag. And if that's the case, then we could be looking for a pretty good run. I'm going to do a quick measurement on the bear flag, and see if it's and see what price it brings me, because we were in slightly it's like contention of where this is going to go, aren't we? We're not quite sure. Oh, actually, look at that. That's leading us right down to these lows here. That looks like the sweet spot around about 1462.
Maybe that is that sweet spot that I've been talking about. Yeah, maybe that's where we start looking for buyers.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be my target down there, which would be over $100, $120 I think, to the not $120, sorry. Yes, $120. Yeah, is that right? No.
Yes, I believe so.
No, $20. $20 to the downside. So that will be where we're going. But you can see that it's a nice nice distance.
Dollars, aren't they? Yeah, that's right. You've got to consider these to be real things.
Yes.
The real McCoy.
Yes.
Not just those silly pips that we play with all the time.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, do you know, my only issue with this is that is that it's quite shallow. I mean, it might be a kind of a profit-taking zone, but I don't think that would promote me to want to buy. So I would probably have to put a stop loss at that particular point, rather than anything else, rather than taking profit, because I'd kind of like a little bit lower. I don't particularly like that particular spot. I think there's, potentially a lot lower down with gold. That still leaves us pretty lofty up here. I'd like to see a dip. Well, obviously, I'd like to see a dip down to this particular point, but whether I get the around about the 1350 level, I don't know. But I'm certainly going to try and play that, and it's going to come down to a few factors. This is a weekly chart right here, and if I just think about the momentum indicator down here, the RSI, then it leaves us in this zone, right on the spot of that zone. So if we can start to break down, maybe that does start to drag us down a little bit more. So I'm probably going to try and play a little bit more than just the 20 pips that the flag is suggesting. And to be fair, it's only a 4-hour flag, so that might be just step one, and we could be looking at step 2 and 3 after that. The FTSE on the flip of that has flown to the upside, and I was just saying to you, I felt a bit out of sync with the FTSE yesterday. Kind of in sync, but out of sync. I was kind of picking some of the right things, but not really the right way to play it, and it was just suggesting to me that I'm not really ready to sit down and dance with the FTSE just yet. And unusual for me to go to gold, but because the FTSE is obviously my go-to chart. But because of the conversations we had, and I looked at the COT data, and the COT data was suggesting some negativity. The seasonality was suggesting some negativity. Obviously, I don't have COT data on the FTSE, but the seasonals on the FTSE were still, fairly strong. So not looking for downside. But look at this. This is again a weekly chart. This is the left shoulder. This is the head, and this is the right shoulder that we're in, kind of the right shoulder range here. It's possible that the right shoulder really stopped here and it's been played, and now we're starting to move in the opposite direction. So I've got to be a little bit cautious, but I am quite interested in the shorts. The big thing now, oh gosh, what happened there? I lost my chart. Are you still there, mate?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, all's good.
Oh, I'm not sure what's going on with
Yeah, your charts are updating by the look of it for some reason.
That's strange.
Sometimes when you change time frames, that happens.
Wow. Okay.
Not all the time. I think it depends on the speed of your connection, actually. But
I mean, I should have a super duper connection. The only thing is that this PC has been showing me that there's potentially some bugs in it, but I don't know. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, that's completely messed up. I've got no market watch or anything now. Strange. We've got some gremlins today, mate.
It looks that way, doesn't it?
Yeah. Which the odd thing is that as far as I'm aware, I am still talking to you, so I don't know why.
We're currently looking at I think it's your FTSE 5-minute chart. Would that be right?
This is the FTSE weekly. Oh, the 5-minute you're on here. Here.
Hang on, I can't read it properly. Yeah, it's weekly. Yep.
Weekly. Okay. So this is the weekly, and we're looking at this potential head and shoulders. The price that I've been really after is just up here. So we're around about 10 pips or so away from that now, maybe 10 or 20 pips away from that. That's where I'd look for some weakness. But in saying that, that's not going to help my gold trade out. So I'm kind of interested in gold, holding on. But regardless of whether I get the lower price or the upper price, I'm interested in holding on and seeing how that establishes itself, and going from there. Now the other chart that I'm interested in, because while I'm kind of looking at the FTSE and I missed my long yesterday, and so I don't want to get too kind of caught up in all that. So after missing that, I think looking for some other opportunities, whether I just do the research on them or rather than actually trade them, I don't know just yet. But I'm quite interested in the Kiwi. And I'm not that up on the Kiwi economy, so I was going to kind of see what you thought about that, because the Kiwi to me looks like a pretty good long. my charts really have decided to pack up and go home. So I'm not sure if I can bring up. In fact, I can't because my market watch is disappeared as well. So I'm not sure what's going on here, mate. To be honest,
Bugger.
but this is very unusual.
Yeah, look, certainly from a technical perspective, the Kiwi looks pretty good. We've gone into. Have you got the chart?
No, I can't. Oh, hold on. They're deciding whether they're coming back or not.
Okay. Well, I'll just talk while that's happening. Gone into a bullish trend. There's no question about that. We've had a Head and Shoulders whose neckline has, it's tough to say if it has been broken or otherwise, and that's the issue. But it has put in a new high above the neckline, and now retraced back to the monthly pivot. So it's in a good spot to buy.
What time frame are you on there?
I'm on the daily.
Yes. This is what I was looking at. So I was looking at the inverted Head and Shoulders down here. And I was looking at this yesterday, and you know, I kind of not really knowing too much about the key, but I thought, oh gosh, that really has started to take off, isn't it? Probably should have got into this already, but that's this was the other one that I was when I was looking at it, I kind of started to like the look of. Oh gosh, that's really quite different than I thought it was. Actually, yeah, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Because
your chart hasn't filled.
It's just filled now. Just filled now, mate. I seem to be back now. It's like a complex inverted Head and Shoulders, isn't it? But it does look pretty good. A bar here is certainly going to start suggesting that there could be some upside in the Kiwi.
Well, you're bang on monthly pivot right now. You're just coming off it, actually.
Right.
So maybe that's your time. I don't know if you can find a way in there that wouldn't be silly. I can absolutely see that that's a point of entry. Weekly pivot dead ahead, but yeah, I don't mind it. It looks okay.
Yeah. I mean, but when it comes down to the economy, is there anything that I can garner from anything to do with that, or is that just?
Look, I'm not up on it either. I really don't know. I haven't got an opinion in any way, shape, or form. So I can't help you there, mate. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you what's interesting. The real interesting trade for me with the Kiwi. Now I know everybody doesn't have this, but if I'm looking around at gold and I'm thinking gold looks kind of weak, and I'm thinking, well, actually the Kiwi looks kind of strong. What I quite like is a kind of a Kiwi gold play.
Okay.
Because
I'm not sure that's available to us on IFS, but
no, it's not, unfortunately. And no, I'm not sort of trying to make people kind of feel, I don't know, just a bit uneasy about them. Inadequate. That's the word. Feel inadequate. But I have got the Kiwi Gold trade, the Kiwi Gold option here. And you know, I'd have to do a little bit of analysis on it. I think my problem is that I can mine for data a lot easier about the US rather than I can the New Zealand, which does cause a bit of a problem because obviously with the US data, then I can trade gold, you know, straight gold versus the dollar. But with the Kiwi, I'd kind of have to go around the houses a little bit before I really kind of got to the answer that I needed. So I'm not sure whether I can trade it or whether I will. I mean, I'm already in gold short anyway, so you know, whether it's a good play or not, I don't know. Maybe this is just another one that I watch and wait and see whether it does become maybe a good strategy, because I'm starting to think of a potential plan and a way to use this COT data. You know, it's been a few days now, and I've been starting to look at it in further detail. Cotton seasonality, I think if I can get those two to marry, and then it's just a case of seeing if you can get two currencies which are going in opposite directions and trade those against each other rather than just sticking with the dollar. I think the issue is that with a dollar, it's a lot easier to kind of get into the fundamentals, so the unemployment data is
it's all there, isn't it? Yeah,
it's there exactly, and that might be the only kind of sticking point, but I suppose if there's a technical setup, and I suppose if there is a COT bias and a seasonal bias, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough to kind of start forming some sort of patched together strategy on. I don't know, but we will see, mate. We'll see, and I'll keep you posted on it. But I suppose my play right now would be for a Kiwi Gold short, and then see what happens. In fact, it's Gold Kiwi. It's that way around. Gold Kiwi would be a short. So that's what I'd look for on that. I've lost internet, so I've lost broker connection again. So I'm not sure what's going on with my end here, but the strange thing is I'm still on with you, so it's obviously not the internet.
Yeah, obviously not. It's talking about seasonality, right? So
yep.
I had a little bit of spare time today because it's been raining, and I thought I want to have a look at the seasonality thing before I commit to doing anything with it. So I went to the Foundation for the Study of Cycles.org. If anybody wants to go there, it's a great resource. And I listened to a webinar on there. I can't remember what it was. I'm just trying to find it as I'm speaking to you. But
I'm on there right now, mate. I'm just having a look myself. That sounds fascinating.
Okay, go into blog.
Blog, yep.
And there's a webinar there called Seasonal Cycles in the Capital Markets. Jake Bernstein. Yes, got it. Yep. Have a listen to it if you can. It's quite informative.
Okay.
I quite like his approach.
And it's talking about seasonality.
Yes, and cycles in particular.
Okay, so the sentiment cycle, or
no, just cycles in everything. In particular, as it relates to the markets, and a lot of what Julian speaks about is in there, like the holiday trades, pre-holiday, post-holiday, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there are very, very much a compelling evidence that these cycles recur and recur and recur and recur with a pretty astounding hit rate. So
where did you find this?
Yeah.
Well, when was it? Have you had this a long time under your?
No, just today.
Okay.
Was flitting.
You stumbled on it, did you?
No, I think I had an idea that I don't know who dropped this site. One of the traders mentioned this site as how we went into what books have you been reading?
Yeah. What
websites have you visited? That sort of stuff. And that was one of them. So I went in there and had a look. Yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting.
You can't remember who it was you mentioned it?
No, I can't. But listening to it, I would imagine it was Julian, because a lot of what he talks about is in there.
Brilliant.
So, yeah. You can probably spool in about 15 minutes whilst they pat each other on the back and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. They like a bit of that.
I find, and I knew a guy years ago who spent many, many years, in fact, I think he was up to 10 years at the time, studying just cycles, nothing more than that.
Yep.
And he applied it to the stock markets and did very well at it. He wanted to apply it to currencies at the time, and I was nowhere near equipped enough to advise him. Because he came to the training centre that I was working with at the time, and I actually got in contact with him again only a couple of years ago, and he's still doing it and still going okay, and it's all based on cycles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rather amazing. So, I think seasonality has its place. I'm starting to get convinced of that, and the economic cycles are fascinating when you drill into them and have a look at them. They're definitely there. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, I'm just going to keep an eye on that website. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay, mate.
That's a bit of a sidestep.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
You're into gold. FTSE, nothing yet.
No, I mean, to be honest, the footsie's gone. You know, it's one of those that I'm just have we still got my screen up?
Hang on a second. I'll just check on that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, check out the heat map. This is the heat map of the FTSE 100, and it is incredibly bullish. So, you know, there's a couple of BP is a big player, so to see them down is not necessarily conducive to you know the overall big guns in the market. But if we kind of look around some of the other kind of big players in the market, then we got things like where's my HSBC? Here we go. HSBC slightly higher, but you know, definitely in positive territory. The likes of where's Rio Tinto is what I was just looking at. Glencore. Actually, Glencore could be quite an interesting one to look for. Glencore and Fresnillo. Now, I'm kind of interested in these because these are our gold stocks on the FTSE 100. So let's have a quick look at that. Looks like it's just slightly higher, but maybe a little bit of a pullback in Fresnillo for the day. Actually, looks a little bit flat down there. So it looks like the FTSE is unlikely at this stage to be coming down too hard. But just a quick note, I suppose, on the FTSE. I have to say my charts have gone completely. My system's gone completely AWOL. It's all over the place. Even my market watch is changed all its orders over. It's decided to kind of start again. Yeah, the FTSE 100 is you know, edging its way higher, and looking at the heat map, there's nothing suggesting that that's going to be flipping positions and going in the opposite direction right now. So I am not looking to trade this one short at this stage, but as we get closer, now this was always going to be my long target anyway. You know, if I had managed to get the trade on yesterday, my long target is only around about 15 pips above this zone anyway. And normally, if I'm looking to take profit, the reason I'm looking to take profit is because I suspect that that's where the market could be under pressure to come in the opposite direction. So that's not to say that it will straight away, but it certainly would suggest that, you know, at that point I'd be clearing out the trades, and I'd be looking to see if we would flip positions. The hourly chart is now in overbought territory, so it might be getting a little bit overextended. Got to look a little bit further into this news, because it was just a headline about, you know, what they might do with tariffs, but the market does tend to do this. You know, when we think about the sentiment cycle, this feels like the end of that particular area. Now, the end could mean, when I say the end, I mean we're almost starting to get towards the over exuberant phase with the FTSE. You know, when we start to push higher, and it could go a little bit beyond this point, but it does suggest that there could be a little bit of a easing back down again fairly soon. What that's going to come down to, I don't know. But remember, we've got Bank of England out today as well, and that isn't usually suggestive of a FTSE 100 necessarily just taking off without pausing at some pretty key levels. And this is a key level, so maybe we've even hit it, mate. Looking at that, we might have even just hit it, and maybe that's what we're going to get. So I am interested in the short with the FTSE, but I've got to see a little bit more detail than I've got right now to suggest that we're going to get the turnaround. But you know, that the short is, in some respects, this is where things become difficult, because at this point I'd be looking for the market to start turning around and maybe easing back down again. However, it won't just come down. It's unlikely, I should say, to come down as hard as this, you know, because this seems like a bit of a panic phase. I don't think we're going to hit panic phase. I think it's much more likely that we get something that's similar to this period back here.
It's a compelling range, though, Ash, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
You know, if you have a look at,
yeah,
well, pretty much the range you've got on your chart there with those yellow lines, it's very compelling.
Yeah, well, as a sell zone.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree, mate. It really is. The question is, does it just, you know, start to come down hard and fast without any question? And this is why I think this becomes a little bit more tricky. And I think we've got to be aware that if we do start taking shorts, we're probably still going to be looking for the long, Still looking for the longs, you know, as it comes down before it really starts to come down a little bit more. I don't think we just come straight down. So I'm going to be a little bit cautious. If I can get a short in, I'm not going to be looking for a short just to kind of float, you know, flip positions all the way back down again. I'm going to be looking for a short to see if I can still grab a little bit more out of the upside, which I suspect will probably still be there. So I'm interested, mate. You know, it's certainly the best zone. And I did say yesterday that I'd be looking for a short, actually, even below where we are. But in the end, I was saying that if the market pops up, I'll be looking for a short here. But actually, as things started to get up to that point, I don't have a reason, and that's the thing right now. I'd like to go short here. I love the price, but at this stage, I don't really have a reason. So what I'd quite like to see is it bash its head against that level a few times, and then give me a reason, and then I'll be looking for the short opportunity. But I'm not gonna bounce in just yet, because I think there's probably a little bit of grabbing on here. This is a pretty strong bull run, which was the problem yesterday. And I was thinking about this yesterday when I saw the market just close above the daily pivot. Was it yesterday? This is yesterday's trading. I was looking for. It was here. This is where we were yesterday, and I was trying to trade this down so I could go long again. But as it the problem was that even though it was just above the daily pivot, it was also at the time when I was looking at the kind of the short-term data, the price had just managed to move above this this trend line, and that was problematic for me because you know we've got. Yes, well, this is it. You know, we've got this. We're looking at this price point here, and in actual fact, it doesn't look as bad now. Oh, yeah, I think it was like that. So it was just closed above, and that was the problem for me was this. I knew that the market was still in bull mode. When I say I knew, I suspected. I shouldn't say I knew because you can never really know. But I suspected the market was still in bull mode, and that meant that any small hint that we were going to hold on to an area was making me a little bit nervous. So even though I missed out on the opportunity, there's a part of me that kind of says, yeah, but actually I was kind of right, because it did actually sort of you know, it did move to the upside. It didn't help me any. Don't get me wrong. But in some respects, I kind of prefer oftentimes to wish I were in than wish I were out.
Of course.
And I think it was one of those for me yesterday. When I was looking at it, I was thinking, no, I'd prefer not to be playing with this one. I'd prefer to be sort of like sat on the sidelines and just accept that that I may not get what I need here, rather than wishing, you know, seeing the market pop up and me going, well, I kind of knew it was a bullish market, so I shouldn't have really been playing it the way I was playing it. You know, as it happened, as I say, there was an opportunity that I've missed, but it's no big deal when you got no money in.
No harm, no foul, mate. That's right.
That's the thing, isn't it? You give up the profit, but there's another part of me which you know, much more importantly, I haven't given up any mental capacity, and I haven't given up any emotional capacity, and it moved me on to something else, which was gold, and actually, you know, the gold trade is going okay. It's not hugely profitable right now, but it is in profit, and it's going okay, and you know, maybe widening and broadening my horizons isn't such a bad idea.
Never hurts, mate. That's a fact. Well, I'm looking after the mental strain and stress for you today. If you're done, I'll show you the chart, shall I?
Yes, let's have a look.
And I've got really no real intention of sticking around too long, because I'm really in just trade management mode, nothing else. Because I actually entered 3 trades this morning in the show. Let me see. That should be the right screen, I think. And like I said before, Aussie was the first of those, and it was going okay until that news came out, and then bang, smashed me out. So I'm out of that trade now, probably looking for the re-entry, and which we've now got, and the higher low. One thing I would say about this, and I said it this morning, that if we are wrong here and this doesn't go short, the thing I liked about this was that we'd already taken out this level. we'd already taken that level out and retested it. I thought that was a strong level, and I thought that was a sell zone right there. But that said, there is also very much the case for, and I do this all the time. If I tighten that up a little bit, that's a false break. That's a false break. And this is, for all intents and purposes, now a false break and a big one. That tends to suggest that we're going to break this to the high side. How do I know that? Because it's just one of those recurring patterns. If it was the other way around, if we were going up here, exactly the same, I'd be looking for that break short. So I'm looking for this to break to the high side. Sometimes it doesn't go too far, but it does break to the high side. So that's exactly what I'm looking for now. And if I get the higher low in here somewhere, that'll be my trigger to go. Hopefully there'll be a trade line that I can trade it off at some stage. But that's where I'm at on the Aussie now. I've changed polarity somewhat as a result of that news. And now that we're back in here technically, really what we've done is bounce off the bottom of this descending channel. So that's a wrong move. We've also got, where's my thing? Mouse. That's
it's interesting, Mel. I'm just having a look at the seasonality on the Australian dollar, and it does actually agree with your trade.
Yeah, look, I like the trade, mate. I did like the trade, but you know, as we all know, sometimes there are little statements that come out that just don't go your way, and that's
and don't help. Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because you know when because we do take opportunities on the intraday time frames, then actually things like seasonality and COT don't help us in the same way that they do swing traders.
No, that's right. Exactly. So, you know, if you're trading this short on a swing basis, then your stops are up here and you're in no danger right now.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. But yeah, intraday trading has its foibles, and you know, announcements like that are one of them. There's absolutely nothing you can do with it. And as I said before, that's why we don't trade these at 5%. Otherwise, we'd be broke very, very quickly. Now, the other two trades that I took, not having a great time of it either. Euro, and I said this at the time, this was a very, very high risk trade. And we spoke about this yesterday, where we'd had a break of the monthly pivot and retest of the monthly pivot. But unlike the Aussie, which had broken the support and resistance area, this had not done that. So I said, if this does break down, so I put my entry well below this level here, then I think we can expect some downside. And I still believe that's the case. But again, that news hasn't been kind to us short term. That said, we're now getting a nice retest of the monthly pivot and the daily pivot on an emotional, if you like, reaction to that news. I'm still confident this can go. And I just hope I've got my stop in the right place here. That will be the tail of the tape. If we break through here, then obviously we're in trouble. But at the moment, I think we're okay. If we do break back into here, then exactly the same as I described on the Aussie, I'll be looking for a higher low and going back to the top of the range. Now, the trade of the week that I thought would have been the trade of the week was euro pound long. It actually set up overnight as well. It's not ideal, I've got to say, but if I've got something to go by, then that's exactly what I'll do. And what I had here was the break of this trend line, not only the trend line, but the bottom of the range, this tiny little range that we've been in for a while. Broke above it, retested it. So I set a long position above here. As you can see, we've now gone straight back into consolidation after we've been entered into the trade. This will sort itself out, I think, once the market has decided what this trade war scenario all means. But what we have upcoming is the news of the week, of course. We've got the MPC meeting, and the minutes of that will absolutely shift this I believe for sure. Obviously, I'm hoping that it'll shift it to the high side. And the reason I think this is a good position to be in is if this does break to the high side, there's a long, long journey ahead of us here. So that's why I'm taking every opportunity to get into a long. And the best place to trade long is always from support, from my point of view. So I'm quite happy with that position at the moment. Obviously, the news can shake us around a little bit as well. I've also got a second order on another account, not this one. Same entry, but I've got my stops underneath the swings. So this is the more conservative way to approach that. I've got my stop here underneath the bar that I traded on one, and I've got my stop underneath the swings on another. If you wanted to play that game, then I would suggest that's the more conservative but far safer way to go. So we've still got two orders in the market, out of the money at the moment, but confident on both of them, pending that pound news that will come out a little bit later on. As far as do I want to trade anything else? Well, I want to go back to the Aussie again. That looks full of running at the moment. Again, if we get that higher low, I'm probably on board there. There was another couple. Oh, the yen pairs. You talked me around yesterday, Ash, where I was definitely a yen bull. That's kind of changed a bit, and we're seeing that in the market right now. And pound yen, if I can talk about going the other way with the pound, it's probably going to coincide with this news. How far away from the news are we?
Well, the MPC.
Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting about the yen as well is that, again, I was talking about big picture stuff, and it's just one of those things, isn't it? The news really has kind of put a wrench in everything. I mean, it's
twisted things, isn't it?
It's twisted things, yeah. It's midday UK time that news is due, so we're looking at another 3.5 hours.
Right.
I think what's interesting about this is that if the big picture suggests going in a direction, if something small happens that agrees with that direction, it's probably going to have a much greater impact of a move, rather than the other direction. And that's the interesting thing that's going on here. There's probably some things that would suggest weakness in the yen, and with that trade announcement, then that's likely to kind of probably magnify the scenario and magnify the moves rather than
because it'll tend to be risk on now rather than risk off, one would think.
I would suspect, yes.
So on that basis, this candle is very, very interesting, because not only has it come back above this broken trend line, which is, of course, in concert with the weekly pivot, the daily pivot's there as well. This is looking really promising for a false break of this trend line and the weekly pivot. So if this were to close pretty much where it is, and then I got a little retest bar, maybe back to the weekly pivot, I think that is a pretty good opportunity to trade pound yen long. But again, you've got to be prepared to, I guess, either trade that before the news with 3 hours. When's the 4-hour candles close? I'm all lost now with daylight saving again. You may not have time to get into that trade before the news. And if the news goes in a direction, then you're probably going to miss that altogether, because it'll just shoot through. So it's a bit tricky. Maybe on the smaller time frames, there's an opportunity to get into that. Let me take a look at that. Yeah, maybe now that we've kind of broken the daily pivot, if this candle were to reverse and maybe retest the trade line, I know it's now a broken trade line more than once, but it's kind of still there for me. So if we were to get, even if we got a double cross of the daily pivot, I'd be happy with that, to place a very small stake, mind you, because it's risky. Entry long, and there's probably even a nice little, I'm trying to draw a trend line from the top, but because my control panel is preventing me from doing that, I'll have to start it from there. So this is actually interesting. I'd like to see a close here maybe, and then a pull back away from this area. maybe back down to here somewhere. Then I can place a long at that level. It'll be a breakout trade and risky, high risk. Maybe even this bar is interesting if it is a high test bar, high test of that level. It is risky because we're at a form of support level here and we are at a resistance trend line. But almost tempted to take a look at that if and when it closes. So trading around the pound is and has been dangerous for quite some time. This is again one of those times where we're leading into news. But I think if we're leading into news, say an hour before would be the limit that I would look to be entering the market. But up till that point, I think I'll be happy to get in and get safe as quickly as I can and hope I've got the direction right. I think the direction for pound yen is probably correct if we're looking to trade it long. So that's kind of why I'm in that particular ballpark. I would like to get into this long before the news, but I most definitely want to make myself safe before that happens. The propensity for the market, of course, is to take you in and then hover you 10, 15 pips out of the money just before the news. So you can't do a bloody thing about it. So that's why it's tricky trading into news. But just bear that in mind, guys. That's what I'll be looking for. Apart from that, Ash, I'm pretty much in trade management mode and hoping I can get these negative positions into positive and take some profit out of the week.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you get there, mate. I'm sure you get there. It's one of those, isn't it? This, unfortunately, this is where the work starts, and it's horrible when you're working when you are actually not in profit. It's much easier much nicer to work when you're in profit. But this is just the way it is, isn't it? This is just the journey that we kind of go through, and in actual fact, these moments, they do tend to make us better because they
define you. Exactly right. You know, you've got to hang in there and do the best you can without going into emotional mode or panic mode.
That's the key. Yeah, that's the key. And I think I suppose that sometimes I feel a little bit under like I've got a little bit of danger when things are going very well. Because I don't know if you remember, but it wasn't that long ago. It's a few months ago. And I remember saying to you, I've had so many good trades recently, and then I hit a bad run, and I've forgotten I've forgotten what I did to kind of like manage it. And it took me about a month to go, oh, that was it. I remember now. And it, then it took another sort of like month or two to kind of get myself straight up again. So I know what it's like, and I think whenever we're going through a good run, we have to recognise that. There's a challenging run around the corner. So,
Yeah, look, there's never been any different. It's always been the same. The issue that I always have is when I put these things out as trade calls, and it's not just I don't worry about my own account because I know it'll be okay, but I worry about people who are trading these things and are in negative positions and how they're handling that mentally and so on and so forth.
That's
I totally the challenge
agree.
for me. Always has been the challenge for me is when other people are involved.
Yes, I totally agree. And you know what? That's one of the reasons that I don't do trade calls, because I probably haven't got the mental capacity to kind of like take that on. To be thinking about other people's trades, because obviously you just got to focus on your own, and everything else will take care of itself. But I think I find that tough too. I think we kind of care quite a lot about other people's accounts and other people's state of mind and other people's trading. So the way I dealt with that is by going, look, I don't think I can do that. And obviously that the way you do that is by sweating at night and not sleeping.
Mate, as soon as I haven't got another show tonight, so yes, I do. I've got one more show. It's not till late as well. That's a bugger. I won't be able to have a wine till then. Maybe one one with dinner.
Yeah.
See how we go. But yeah, I'm wrapped, mate. I'm not doing anything else. That's pretty much what I'm doing for the day, is just going into trade management and see how we go.
All right, buddy. All right, sounds good. Well, gold trade is on. I don't know if anybody else is in that, but managing that one. And we will be back, same trade time, same trade channel next Monday. and we will see if we can get a short. And that's what I'm going to look for. Going to see if there's going to be a short in the FTSE 100, but at least we get a weekend to do some research and try and get back on it. I'm very, very interested in the Kiwi as well for some upside. But as I say, being a bit of a novice when it comes down to Kiwi economics, then or New Zealand economics, I'm going to have to do a bit more work on that one. But yeah, we'll be back, mate, and we'll see how we get on. But have a great weekend, buddy, and a good night tonight too.
And everybody who's in, have a great weekend, and hopefully you can get some money in the bank before Friday turns into Saturday.
Great stuff. All right, dude. All right, see you later, guys. See you next week.
Bye, guys. Have a good one. Bye for now.